Griffin, guess what?
What?
This episode of The Breakfast Dish is sponsored by ATB. Do you know what ATB stands for?
We have ads now? Oh my God.
We have ads because we're part of the Alberta Podcast Network.
Well, here's a little secret. I do know what ATB is because I'm with them. I have a debit card, so this is conflict of interest.
Okay, so let me tell you. You were born in 1996 and I was born in 1966, and ATB was opened in 1938. And their entire job then was to support Albertans during hard times. Are we in hard times right now? Yeah. Are they still going to help us? Yeah, they are, because they've got a Bill to Help Albertans campaign, and they're going to help Albertans recover from the effects of COVID. This is a downturn. It's not over, but ATB was built to help Albertans like you and like me.
So ATB is here to answer the hard questions.
Yeah, any hard questions that you might have as an ATB account holder.
So I'll go to my bank and go, where do babies come from?
That's great. Yep.
And sorry, what you're saying is you'll promise me that they'll answer those.
Well, they say they'll answer commonly asked questions.
Well, I don't know where babies come from.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, maybe not of my age group, but they won't judge. ATB is great.
Ask them anything. They're going to help you because we need the help.
Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs. We'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish. Bop, 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 bop,
Boy, before we start, do I have broccoli in my teeth?
I can't tell if this is a bit or I don't see any broccoli.
Okay. I know we're not recording video, but I don't want our guests to have to look at broccoli in my teeth.
For approximately 45 minutes, I see.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of The Breakfast Dish. My name is Karen Johnson, Diamond, Cork, Philip, McMaster, Smith, Stein, Burton, Taylor, Fatensky, Black and Decker, Laverne, and Shirley, which is what my friends have called me over the years. But really, you listeners, you can just call me Karen Johnson Diamond, or Karen, which is what my son calls me. He calls me Karen.
Hey,
here's my son now.
I was going to start the episode being like, hey, Mom. Hey, Mom. Let's go play catch outside. It's me, your son, your bubby, wubby, Fuffy.
Fuffy, Pickle, my boy. So your dad and I watched The Adam Project the other day. Has anybody?
Okay.
If you're listening and you don't want a spoiler, you can turn it off. But I don't actually think this is a spoiler. I can't tell you how much, besides the movie Field of Dreams, I cannot tell you how much I despise it in movies when boys are like, my dad never played catch with me. And dad's like, come on outside and play catch. Like, how many times did your dad play catch with you, Griffin?
We did, for a while there, we had a Frisbee going. We would go across the street and do Frisbee.
No,
but it
I'm
was
talking
like
ball and glove catch in the backyard.
No, I mean, I don't think I currently don't, nor did we ever own any baseball equipment except for a bat.
Is your childhood ruined because your father and I did not play catch with you in the backyard?
No, and I think that's what the problem with it, right? Is that, like, I think when a character goes, my dad never played catch with me, it also is like, and that's the only way we could have bonded. That's the only thing that we can do to spend time together.
Well, you and I have this, Griff. You and I have this podcast we do together to bond with each other. Tell everyone what our podcast's about, Griffin.
Gosh, well, we started it to talk about people doing socially distant or digital or online art. And we were like, man, we got to tell people what's going on because it's scary pandemic times and stuff's happening. And then as the podcast get going and stuff started opening up and, you know, we felt like we didn't have to tie it to like a certain event, and we just like to have people on that we find interesting and like to talk to and think that they have cool thoughts. So that's what season 3 is about, is not necessarily to promote an event or anything. If they have an event, we absolutely invite them to plug it, but it's more so just like a, man, you're cool as hell, let's chat. That's the pod.
The Cool People Series pod. No, the season of Cool People on the pod.
Cool People Series pod is pretty good.
That's good. CPSP.
CPSP. I'm sorry, Doc. Doc, I got the results back and you're CPSP.
Guess who our guest is. Just guess.
I have to guess?
Yeah, just guess. 3 guesses. And the first 2 don't count.
Oh, God. Okay. Here we go. Here's my first guess. Here it comes.
It's not John Krasinski.
Thomas Jefferson. Sorry? Sorry, what did you say?
I said it's not John Krasinski. I was just giving you a freebie there. And it's not Thomas Jefferson.
Now, does that count of what is my 3 guesses, or do I get...
No, I've given you one of yours. So you only have one left.
So you've given me one of my guesses?
Yeah.
This is a flawed system. Is it Tenaj Williams?
It is!
Yeah,
Tenaj
okay, great.
Williams. Ding, 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 ding.
No, I've given you one of your guesses.
Hi, Tenaj.
She did you a favor. She gave you one of your guesses. That was like a favor
That's true.
that she did. 2 down. And then that only left Tenaj, realistically. That was the only possible third option after those 2 questions.
It's the Monty Hall problem. If you open all doors except 2, which one has the money behind it? If you've gotten rid of John Krasinski, it can only be 2 people.
I can't believe you know the Monty Hall, like a reference to Monty Hall.
I'm impressed with that,
What
too.
are you talking about, you guys?
You're just little.
Well, I mean, I didn't really know who Monty Hall was, but now
I barely know it.
philosophical, or I guess mathematical problem is called the Monty Hall problem.
Oh, I think it was Let's Make a Deal, wasn't it, Tenaj?
I only recognize the name. Like, just a minute, I have no idea what it's from. That's why I'm like, Griffin, you're a baby compared to me. How do you know this?
Yeah, that's like the title of it.
And then there was Dating Game, Bachelor number 1, Bachelor number 2.
And then Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, right. But that was 20 briefcases. We're talking 3 doors. What's behind door number
I
1,
see.
door number 2, door number 3. And Monty Hall would say that all the time. I think that's him. I could be wrong. There was also a show called The Gong Show where people came on and tried to win doing the worst thing ever.
What do you mean? Sorry, wait.
It was like,
Give me an example of the worst thing ever.
Yeah, as in they had to make up the worst thing ever, or like the show.
yeah, it was like America's Got Talent, except you wanted them to gong you or you didn't want them to gong you. But it was like, hey, look, I'm an 87-year-old woman in sparkly pants juggling irons. Like something really stupid.
And like, if you did it badly, you won, or you had to do it well.
Right, you had to do a bad thing well.
I think you had to do a bad thing well. And then if you got gonged, it was like, they were all bad. But if it was bad and entertaining, you didn't get gonged, I think. I don't know. I should know this. This is my generation.
I actually could see how that could kind of rule. Although a woman juggling irons sounds very impressive.
In sparkly pants.
Yeah, no less.
Speaking of sparkly pants, Tenaj.
Where's this going?
Let's go. Here we go. Lead us down this yellow brick road, Karen.
When I first met you, Tenaj, really got to know you, I believe that you were wearing sparkly pants as the crab in Little Mermaid.
Oh, is that's not where we met, was it?
That's how we really got to know each other.
Because you were assistant directing on that. I remember that. But I felt like
I was
knew-
acting coach on it, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
I knew of you. Because of Mark Bellamy. But I feel like that's when we first sat down together and had a conversation.
You know what? That might be true. Yeah, and those pants did have some like flair to them for sure.
Okay. All right. I just nailed that segue.
You
nailed
did.
it. Tenaj, if you were going on the Gong Show, what's the terrible thing that you would do really well?
Okay, so I have to understand this better. So I
Yeah.
have to do something that is interesting, but it's stupid.
Yeah.
Like the first thing that came to mind, and I don't even think I can do this, would be something with alligators. I know that's random, but I was like, maybe if I fed them poorly.
How much alligator experience do you have?
I had none. I don't even know
Okay.
why alligators came to mind, but like as you were describing the show, I was imagining something like, you guys, I brought my pet alligator onto the show and I'm going to have it terribly do tricks for you. Like trick number 1 would be like, when I put my hand through its mouth, it won't bite me 50% of the time.
Okay.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
actually,
Like-
I think if you introduce the idea of drastic failure right at the beginning, I think that'd be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
For sure. That's the kind of macabre.
And it's like, and if you were to fail and it were to bite you, that is interesting. Do you know what I mean? So that failure is extremely interesting because I'd be like, whoa, this guy literally lost an arm for our entertainment. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a commitment to the bit.
yeah.
Commit to
And
the
then,
bit.
and then this is, give this story to a couple of monkeys with typewriters and we have the Hunger Games.
I'm telling you, yeah. Everyone be like, ooh, he only lost like 4 fingers that time. Like, nice.
What's the Arnold Schwarzenegger one? Running Man?
Oh, that was a game
one.
show. It was a movie about a game show where you had to run and try not to get killed. And if you could,
Yeah.
it was kind of like Hunger Games.
Right. And there was all those like weird kind of wrestlers. There was the one that he had his ice arena and he was like a goalie. with like blades on a hockey stick or something. It was crazy. Anyway.
Okay, let me tell you another one you should watch, and it's super dated, but you should both watch Logan's Run. Are you familiar with the original movie Logan's Run? It would freak the both of you out because it was the world in which it was too populated. So as soon as you turned like 35, everyone had this disc implanted in their palms, and they would be green until the day you were 35. And as soon as you hit 35, they would go red. And then it was like, now you have to die because you're 35.
How, and immediately die?
Yeah, like line up. Somebody is going to kill you now because you've hit 35. So this guy and somebody else just try to run away from it. That's Logan running away from being killed for 35.
That is very interesting.
But I feel like I was like 18 or 19 when I watched it, and I was terrified of turning 35 after that.
I still am.
Even though you didn't have the disc.
No, but I looked at my hands to make sure I didn't on my 35th birthday.
Wow. Okay.
Were you a mom on your 35th birthday?
I was by 5.5 years.
Ooh.
And her 5.5-year-old son came up and said, "Time to die, Mom." Which is crazy because he didn't even see the movie.
Because he'd never seen the movie. Okay. Alligators. There. That's really all. That's the biggest question I had for Tenaj right now, Griffin, is what he would do on the Gong Show.
Sweet. Well, thanks for everyone for tuning into the podcast. We're a member of the Alberta Podcast Network. Awesome. We'll chat with you guys later.
Tenaj, you are doing Clue coming up at Vertigo. Yep.
I am.
Who are you playing in Clue? Can you tell us?
Mr. Green. The Mr. Green.
Which one is he again?
He's the guy in the green clothes.
I was asking somebody yesterday, or somebody was asking me, when you guys do Clue at Vertigo, are there alternate endings?
That's a great question that I don't actually have the answer to. I have no idea. No one's expressed that to me.
My big Clue knowledge is from the Clue computer game that I think I got in a box of Corn Pops when I was like 9. and like one of you has killed somebody and you have to find the cards. And the 3 cards that are missing is who the person, the place, and the weapon was. Mrs. Peacock was like kind of fanciful and kind of kooky. Professor Plum was just a little dork nerd. Colonel Mustard was the army guy, obviously. Mr. Green was like the most normal one in the game, at least.
The only quirk that I can think of, which makes me feel like I need to do more work on this script, which I haven't started looking at it.
Why would you?
But like, I think that he just is like a little bit nervous. But stay tuned. Come check out the show and see what Tenaj does with it. You know what I mean? Like, he's just as interested to see what it'll be as you are. So I'll just come up with something. You know what I mean? I don't even know if it'll be in the script. Just come and see what'll happen.
It's just Tenaj at the front of the stage. What's my thing?
Yell it out for me.
What's my thing? Help! Who played the Corn Pops computer game?
Yeah, it's not about who did it. It's about how is Tenaj going to play this game tonight.
Yeah, I specifically said coming in, I want zero direction. I want to embody this in the most natural way of whatever comes to me in the moment is what I want to do with it. That's a sold out audience if I ever heard one.
Well, you know what? People have paid money to see that. That's what improv's called. You've done improv before, haven't you, Tenaj?
I have done improv, and I can't say I ever want to do it ever again. I remember when I first did it, like, 'cause we did a lot of dirty laundry together, and I always told myself, you know what, Tenaj, if you want to be a good actor, you have to do improv. You hate it, and you lose sleep over it, but it's an important thing to do. Now, I don't feel that way. I'm like, I don't need this extra anxiety in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to wait, like, days. I'd be up for days being like, this is going to happen to me. And, like, that's the opposite of improv. It's, like, preparing what would happen. But I'd be like, this is what's going to happen. I'm not going to know what to do, and I'm going to freak out. And it stressed me out. It still stresses me out.
I hate that we stressed you out because you were so good at it and you were so fun.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, you know what?
It wasn't you guys. It was the situation. I think all improv is hard.
You don't have to be an improviser to be an actor. Do I think it helps? Yeah, I totally
think it does. I think if you come up with offers on the fly because you just react.
Yeah. Or when something goes wrong in your show, you can figure out something.
Yeah, and things never go wrong in shows. You know what I mean? Like, that's not typically what happens. Not in live ones anyways.
No, everything's perfect.
I love those stories, though, to be honest. Like, I love hearing stories about, like, if I don't know an actor, I'm trying to get to know them in a show and I've never worked with them. That's one of the favorite things I like to ask them is, like, tell me about a time that something went really wrong on stage for you. And, like, you can be funny, it can be traumatic, just, like, and it tells me a lot about them as a person, how they handle the tragedy, / what they even think is a tragedy. Sometimes I'm like, that's pretty normal.
Okay, let's go there.
Let's go there.
Tell me something horrible that happened to you on stage once.
Okay, I don't know if it didn't happen to me, but this is my favorite story that I tell people. I don't know if this counts that it didn't happen to me,
Okay.
but like, I don't know if it's bad to use names, but I'm going to use names. So I was doing Christmas Carol, and I was doing the skating scene, where we're all out there skating, and it was with Declan O'Reilly, who is the best human being ever.
Yep.
But he's also huge, and then you put on like skates on him, so the guy's like 6'7" or something like that with skates. You know what I mean? Like he was a big guy. So he's skating over to us, and he's holding this tray of like hot chocolate for us or whatever, and he's like in character, like being like, "Oh, does everybody want some hot chocolate or whatever?" And he slips, and since he's holding the tray of hot chocolate, he can't catch himself, so he fully falls on his face. And it's like the loudest crash, and the cups go flying into the audience. They go flying backstage. They just go flying, and then the entire scene just comes to a crashing halt because everyone's like, "Whoa!" And I need you to know, I didn't recover from laughing from that for the rest of the show. Like I couldn't. There was not a point that I could pull it together. I had a scene. The rest of the scene, I was like tearing up and laughing through the whole thing because I can just see it vividly, and I'm trying to gather the cups and all this other stuff. And then same with like we had a scene as a businessman right after that. I was laughing throughout that scene. We had like every time I saw him, I was just laughing, and I never got it together. And I was like waiting for the notes. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get in trouble for this for sure because I barely could say my lines. I was just like, I couldn't stop laughing at it. And it was like a highlight of my career for sure. Didn't happen to me, but I loved it.
Here's the hilarious thing, though. There wasn't actually any liquid in those cups at all, was there?
None.
I would have done that too. Like I would have held on to my prop and sacrificed myself.
Oh.
I have to remember that these things are supposed to have liquid in them. Oh.
And I feel like time was moving slowly for me. Like I can picture it so vividly in my brain. And it was like, I immediately started laughing.
Oh, I love. Do you do that often? Are you a corpser on stage?
Yes. Yes. I am. Like I did it again. I was just doing a show up in Edmonton called The Fiancé, and it was a farce, and I did it almost every single night. Like someone would do something and I'd be like, that's really funny. That's very, very funny. And it would catch me off guard every time. And I was like, I'm going to get better at this.
It's just the brief, like 45 seconds of every actor on stage when you just become an audience member at The Fiancé. Just like,
totally.
Oh, this is
like,
a good show.
So brilliant.
Yeah.
And everyone was so brilliant. And they just dialed in and they were so funny. And I was like enjoying how hilarious they were. I was like, oh, that's new. That's very funny.
Well, I want to check in with you because you at Clue this season is not your first time at Vertigo this season because you also understudied for Cypher.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to hear about that because I don't have any understudy experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me start by saying that every single person on that show was so beautiful and so lovely, and they were all so kind and so gracious and so wonderful to me, and I just appreciate that.
Okay.
I have tremendous respect for the people that do it. I think it's important to have understudies for shows because it's the most thankless, outrageous, difficult job. Like the best way to say it is, first of all, I knew that entire script cover to cover. If I just had to do a one version show of that wordy play, I could do it. That took years off my life. 2, it removed the best part of acting and left you with the worst part of acting.
Just the memorizing.
Which is the memorizing, but also I didn't know, like, and nobody really even has the answer to this, but it's like, I didn't have any agency over what I did for the most part because you're understudying somebody else. You're not inventing the role. You're not taking charge of the role. You're copying someone. And like Cypher was very stylized. So it was very much like, I didn't have ownership over that. I just had to do what other people would do because it's all a part of it. You know what I mean? You saw it. So there's dancers, there's motions, all that stuff. So it's like, they created that. I just have to fit into it. But then you also don't get to perform. And if you do perform, it's under extenuating circumstances that are stressful. Do you know what I mean? But then also you're doing multiple characters too. So like I couldn't even enjoy watching the show because I was just a ball of anxiety watching things, being like, I know this, I don't know this. And then it was like, somebody else is in the background, like moving something. When did they move that? Why are they moving that? I didn't have that in my notes. Oh crap, I was supposed to be watching this guy do this. I missed that. Stop, go back. Oh, you're not going to go back because it's a live show? That makes sense. Moving on. Like, you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And like I said, everyone was so wonderful to me. But in my brain, I was like, this is how my career ends. Because if they ask me to go on, I will be terrible at the one thing that they asked me to do.
I don't know.
And it's not the one thing they asked to do, right? You've taken on 3 roles.
But it's what you feel like. It feels like that, where it's just like, I got a call, and like poor Sarah, who is such a great stage manager and such a good human being.
Sarah Turner, we love Sarah Turner.
Yes, love her. I just think she's so incredible. Every time she called, I was like, "What do you want? Like,
pick up the phone.
What do you mean?
We're good."
You know what I mean? Like when she texted me, I was like sweating. Like,
did you ever go on?
I never had to go on. And I had an amazing partner. It was me and Jamie Contract that did the whole thing. Like we were the only understudies for the show, and I had 3 tracks and she had 2 tracks. And in a perfect world, if there was so much money for everybody and so much time, it would be great to have an understudy like for the lead, and then an understudy for the, that could do maybe 1 or 2 tracks, but like to do it all. Like,
so on Peter Pan Goes Wrong, there was 4 understudies. 3 of them had a part already in the play and were understudying tracks bigger than theirs. One of them was understudy only. He covered 5 tracks. 5 different tracks. And he ended up going in on 3 of them.
Yeah.
I think he eventually ended up going in on 3 of them because we had a lot of understudy crossover in that one. But
in the Fiancé, we had understudies go on for myself and for one the female understudy went on as well.
Wow. And isn't that a new thing to us all, right? Like having not been in a lot of musicals, I know there's swings that can step up and do things, but in straight plays, understudies?
Doesn't happen.
No. And my good friend Steffi Wolf is going on for her 1 understudy run of Jane Eyre tonight. Whoa. So this is like it's her run through. They're in tech, I think, but it's her run through tonight. So it's her one time.
And everybody cheers you on. Like we're just like everyone. Like if you go in, everyone's like, "You are the hero. We will take care of you." I knew I was going to be taken care of.
It is heroic,
right? And that's the other thing, right? Is the people can be as lovely as they can, but it really does fall to you, right? And they'll there to support you and pick up if anything falls. But it doesn't really matter.
To say it's hard is a valid, honest thing, for sure.
So hard.
I seriously want to do it at some point, though. Like, I just think you have to experience it once in your life, because that's your actor's nightmare come true.
Yes. Come true. Yes.
Okay, so now let's talk about what you feel like you do have the capacity for, and that would be Jann.
Capacity to do Jann. That was another I corpsed in Jann all the time, too.
Right. But how could you not?
Back up. Give any listener that is not familiar with what Jann is. What is Jann?
Oh, what Jann was is I was lucky enough to be a part of the TV show on CTV. It's called Jann. It's based on Jann Arden's life, but it is a situational comedy. So it's like it's scripted. It's a scripted show where she plays a version of herself. This is not who she is in real life.
Right.
She's super crazy in this. And I got to be a part of the series. I got to be a part of the regular cast on season 3, which was really, really cool. And it aired, I think, in the fall. And so now it's all on Crave. You can check it out if you'd like. You can check it out on CTV if you want to. And it's going to be on Hulu in the States coming up here, I think, in the next few weeks.
Sweet.
Okay, so do we know anything about season 4? Do you know your future on Jann?
We don't yet, no. We're hoping. They told me to not lose faith yet. But the producers and writers have been really lovely, and they've been in contact, and they've expressed that they would love to have me back if that worked out. If the show gets renewed, that I would be able to be coming back, which would be really cool. And I would come back in a heartbeat. I loved every minute of that.
Do they have to get renewed every year? Do they have to find out if they're coming back every year?
I think for some shows you have to do that. I think some shows, I think they get options for if it's a really popular show, they're like, we're going to renew you for 2 seasons at once.
Right.
But some shows, I think it's as it goes, they have to get greenlit as it goes. And so,
yeah, that was a big thing that happened with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Mom, is that Brooklyn Nine-Nine was canceled, and then the fans went, no! So then a different platform picked up Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Picks it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's never a guarantee, unless you specifically buy a 3-season option, there's never a guarantee that the show's coming back.
But the producers and writers and Jann herself are very much committed to making the show happen.
Totally.
Griffin, Jann Arden once declared you her tiniest fan. Do you remember me telling you that story?
I think you told me this story on this podcast.
Never mind then. No one gets
What? I didn't hear it.
So again, I get to tell it again. Griffin was born in June 10th, and in July was the folk festival.
No, that's my birthday.
Shut up.
Okay, sorry, I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
So third week of July is the Folk Fest, and Griffin was born preemie. He was really tiny. He's just home from the hospital. So we've taken him to the Folk Fest, and he's maybe 5 pounds, maybe. Anyway, we're walking around with him in the folk fest. And my husband, pushy as he is, the most confident pushy man ever, sees Jann Arden walking towards us on the road. And he goes, Jann, this is Griffin. He just wanted to tell you that you're his favorite singer so far in his life. She says, well, he's my tiniest fan.
Oh my God.
She's hilarious. I used to listen to CKUA all the time. I still do. But there was a time at CKUA where she did a station identification. CKUA is this Alberta radio station that's publicly funded, and they have fundraisers twice a year. And she did a station ID during a fundraiser, and she said, hi, I'm Jann Arden, and if you donate to CKUA, I'll make you an egg salad sandwich. And I just knew she was going to be the funniest person in the world.
She
and then
is.
Every time I've seen her, she's hilarious.
She's such an interesting human being because like she's so smart. She's so smart and she's so good at what she does. And I love watching people like that. You know what I mean? Like there's so many times where she was like, we'd be sitting there and she's going over lines or whatever. And then she's like, oh crap, I was supposed to do this video for this radio station or whatever. It's like, okay, one sec. And then she'll just turn it on. Like she'll just do her phone and then say the most hilarious stuff you've ever heard ever. And it'd be like, she didn't even think about it. She's like, oh yeah. And then she'll just do it. And you're like, what? And it's impossible to keep up there. Same with like her improv things. Like she would just like, it's her show. So if she wanted to go off script and say whatever she wanted, she could. And she was so quick. And it was so like, sometimes you're just sitting there like hoping that you don't ruin the scene as she's going off doing something brilliant. Like she's so interesting to me.
Speaking of It's Her Show, you wrote a show that was workshopped at Lunchbox a number of years ago.
Yep.
Where's that at? How's it going?
It's a great question. It's going terribly. But
only because you're busy.
Yeah. Like, so I re-picked it up because lovely Holly Lewis, amazing human being, who wrote The Fiancé. She wrote it and she was so lovely and we were just sitting there chatting and I enjoy her very much. And she's like, well, if you have any plays, would you mind? I would love to read them. And I was like, well, okay. So I sent it off to her and then we talked on Zoom, like, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, not that long ago, about a whole bunch of ways to reframe it and think about it. And so I started writing and I have my biggest problem that I am actively working towards is that I judge my work so harshly that as I'm doing it, I'm like, terrible. Nobody talks like this. And I'm like talking as myself because I'm playing myself in my own play. And it's so weird. And so there are moments that I'm like, oh yeah, I got that right. Moments that I'm like, this is all weird. So I am working on it. It doesn't have a life yet, but part of me wonders if it'll ever have a life if I don't just, go out and do it. So I think the next step for me that I would love to do is I want to like actually hire a dramaturg and like do a process that like forces me to be like, okay, you need to turn out 15 pages by tomorrow. These are your notes, go for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just got to find a way to get that funding, which I'm hoping that will come through in some kind of way. And then I do want to do it at some point. I really do want to do it at some point. And I want it to be bigger than just a one-person show. In my mind, I want it to be more than that.
I want to meet your families.
You should. They're really great.
Because you describe them so well in that show. I would love it if those characters came to life.
I agree. And like, I'm interested to see what that would look like. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine how would someone play me? Would I be wildly offended by the choices that they made? Would I be like, oh, that's a better version of me that I should be like that? That's great.
Ask Jann.
That's true. But to be honest, she's playing herself, so she gets to do her own justice, I suppose.
But you could still play yourself in this play, but add more characters.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because there's so many different ways you can go with it. And so I've kind of just like stopped limiting myself to be like, this is the right way, and kind of been like, I'll go down this path. I'll go down this path. And it's like just a disaster of things. But I'm enjoying that, exploring that, because I'm like, sometimes I find I pull on a string that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'll go down that until I don't know where that goes anymore. And then I'll pull on a different string. And so it's just about finding the right string, I think, at this point.
Well, I have a very nice string to pull, and that is my new favorite segment that Karen has made up for this podcast.
Ooh.
Karen, hit him with it.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to call you on it, but then I was like, nah.
I know. And here I am. Mumsy.
Thanks, son.
Mumsy.
Call me Mummy. Just once. Just say Mummy once.
Mummy, hit him with it.
Thank you. Alex Kalman, who you know and we love, wrote our theme song. And in our theme song, she sings, "Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs." And so what we've been asking people since this is the breakfast dish and we imagine we're eating bacon and eggs at this moment, I want you to tell me the weirdest, like if you're a nighttime dreamer, the kind of things you dream, the weirdest dream you've ever had, any nightmare or anything, some dream you had as a kid, maybe that has stuck with you and you've never let go. Or if you're not a vivid dreamer at night, you can tell us like a dream for your future, but we'd rather something that came into your mind while you were sleeping some night.
Okay, I have a dream that is reoccurring. I had it literally 2 nights ago, maybe even last night, but I've been having it for years. Legitimately, it's just versions of this, but for years. And basically what it is, and I hope that it could be weird, but I'm on the top of my game in life. Like I have all these powers. I'm really strong. People are like kind of scared of me because I'm so awesome and like wrathful. And I'm living life and it's great. And like I literally have powers to like fly and all this stuff. And I'm considered to be the strongest person out there. That happens at the beginning of my dream, and it's great.
What happens at the beginning of your dream?
That's at the beginning of my dream, and I enjoy that part of the dream so much. And like I can blow things up with my hands, and I can fly, and like I fight people, and I'm like condescending, and like you guys are all weak. It always happens.
Your power level is far below mine.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then something comes, and people warn me about it, and I never listen to them. And it's a T-Rex looking kind of creature. And his whole job is he has to eat me. And I don't believe it until I see him. And I'm powerless against this T-Rex thing. And I need you guys to know, I've been dreaming about this for 5 to 6 years pretty consistently. And all he has to do is touch me. And if he touches me, I lose. And what happens is I instantly I fly into this like wall of spikes. and so like, but nobody can save me because I, to this point, was the strongest person around.
Right.
I've made a point about it. And so now everyone's like, how can we help you? If you can't help yourself, nobody can help you. So I'm like, for the first time, it's like this like really humbling, terrifying feeling of someone, like he rips through buildings. He like tramples things to find me. And then I like fly in the air thinking I'm safe. And then he starts flying. And I'm like, I don't know where to go. And then it always clicks in my head that I'm like, there's not like, I could run, but I'll literally be running for the rest of my life. And the dream either ends with him catching me, I fall into the wall of spikes and I wake up, or I give up because I'm like, I can't run forever. And it's too scary to run forever. I don't want that to be my life. So I surrender to the T-Rex creature. He doesn't look exactly like a T-Rex, but he has the mouth of a T-Rex. And I let him eat me. I wake up.
Okay, so I'm sure there's a lot of metaphors in there, but what I love is the arc of this version of you, in that you start off the dream kind of like powerful and sarcastic and wrathful,
Always.
But then the people realize that you are their last line of defense for this creature. If you are the most powerful.
But the creature doesn't want to kill anybody else other than me. He only wants to kill me.
Oh.
And in the dream, they tell me about it. They tell me about it being like, he's coming for you. And I'm like, nothing can come for me. Like, don't. Oh. I'm not worried about it. And then he comes and I meet him and I fight him and I realize I can't beat him.
But if in the dream you went, thank you for telling me, let's all team together to save me, it might have worked if you hadn't been such an asshole, right?
It's really possible.
Right. That's the message here.
One time it was a bee queen thing. Like it was like this like flying wasp that was attacking me.
They're married.
But it's always like, I always go through like different, like I'm like hiding in buildings and then he'll destroy the entire building, or I'm going to a lake and I'll dive into the water to try to get away from it and then he'll jump out of the lake.
Well, then his motives are a little muddled there. If he destroys the building, no way there's nobody else in that building.
Right.
That's true. But apparently in this dream, I'm only worried about myself. So I'm like, it's fine. Like, I just got to get out of here.
Wow.
And I swear I had this as of recently as this week. For sure this week, it might have been last night. But it happens all the time. I have no idea what it means. And I'm interested to see, like, if you guys had to say, if you had to interpret that dream, interpret it for me.
It says you don't have to put out an outward show of confidence. It's okay to be vulnerable sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Something like you don't have to do everything by yourself. You are allowed to accept help.
Or like whatever you think is threatening just you and nobody else, that doesn't exist in the world. Threats are for everybody. So you don't have to take it all on your shoulders.
I love that.
In the spirit of look up, the T-Rex is global warming.
Right. And global warming is just coming to kill Tenaj.
Just Tenaj.
But it rests on my shoulders to stop it, and I can't stop it.
It's true. Actually, I looked at that report this year, and like the biggest carbon footprint of all the countries of the world was Tenaj Williams.
Oh my God. The infamy that I sought came to me.
The podcast you're listening to is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. My name is Kyle, and I'm the host of Putting It Together. From a very early age, I've been obsessed with musical theater, and in particular, I've adored the music of composer Stephen Sondheim. So I decided to create a podcast where I invite on a new guest each week and go through each one of his productions, show by show and song by song. You'll learn about theater history, you'll laugh, maybe cry, but always you'll be swept up in the music. It's called Putting It Together, and it's available anywhere you get podcasts.
Well, what I seek infamy for is the Alberta Podcast Network, because The Breakfast Dish is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. The intro music you just heard and the outro music you're about to hear has been composed by Alexandra Cowman. All graphic design for The Breakfast Dish has been done by Morgan Erpter. While we sit in this state, we've never tried to interpret dreams before. We don't have the right qualifications to do that.
I don't think anyone does.
Karen, what else is going on this week?
Let me tell you, on Friday, April 8th, at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium, you can catch the Shumka Dancers. After decades of performances near and far, Shumka is returning to its home for a celebration of, get this, 60 years of performance history. You can go to northernjubileeauditorium.com/Shumka Dancers. Also, in Edmonton on Saturday, April 9th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., it's the ACUA Easter Market. That's the Alberta Council for the Ukrainian Arts. It's being held at 9534 87th Street, Edmonton. Tickets are free, all ages. You can go to acuarts.ca/Ukrainian-Easter-Market, or you can call 780-488-8558 and attend the Easter Market on Saturday, April 9th. Food, Ukrainian Easter supplies, artisans and craft vendors, art and Ukrainian goods. Ooh, you can pre-order your favorite Ukrainian food online and pick it up from the market from 11 to 1. Where do you do that? Oh, programs at acuarts.ca.
Tenaj Williams, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your heart on The Breakfast Dish.
Thank you so much. For anyone who wants to talk to me about their dreams, I am willing and available.
No, I'm going to actually put a kibosh on that. We need all the dreams for our segment. So if anyone wants to talk to me about your dream, I don't know what Tenaj is trying to do. Now, I did lie. We do have one more segment, and Karen likes to improv one more question that we did not plan, we did not talk about. Here we go, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, if you had to make breakfast for this T-Rex character in order to convince him not to eat you, what do you think would satisfy this creature?
So this is like I'm making an offering of the best breakfast that I can make.
Yeah.
An olive branch.
That you think will really satisfy this thing.
Okay.
Given his T-Rex mouth.
Okay, I'm a terrible cook, but I could make scrambled eggs with cheese.
Yeah.
Which I'd make them nice and fluffy. I'd really pay attention in the pan. Like, like the key is to keep mixing them so they stay fluffy. Do you know what I mean? Like when you leave them in the pot. So I would keep mixing them because I want to appease him. Then I would make pancakes, which I've recently got into. Someone tried to come for me and say that if you just add water to a mix, that's not making pancakes. And I want to say it was a powder before. I added something to it and it made pancakes. So don't tell me I didn't make pancakes.
You made pancakes. Yes,
you know what I mean?
Did. You did.
They tried it. I put them in their place. Don't worry. So I could make pancakes. The key is to try to get them nice and thin. So you just got to add the right amount of water. Maybe throw a little bit of cinnamon and vanilla in there. You know what I mean? And I do that. And then I would make pancakes and those eggs. And then if they were still hungry, like I recently, I don't know if you guys know what grits are. Do you know what grits are?
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I know of them. They're like a potatoey thing, right? Or something? Or
sort of. They're like
oatmeal-y.
oatmeal, but they're like they're oatmeal, sort of, or like a cream of wheat, but it's not sweet.
Yeah, right.
So I make grits, and I always bring grits back home with me from Turks and Caicos. I'm sure you can probably find them here. I don't know how to find them, but I literally hoard them back from Turks and Caicos. So I have some grits that I can make that I've gotten really good at making. I had that this morning. And I would try to make like a fruit cocktail of like the fruits in my fridge, which are like bananas, apples, and oranges. And then I'd serve a cup of coffee. And that's the best I can do.
I'm coming over for breakfast, and if you don't give me that breakfast, I'm going to eat you.
Or just throw me into a wall of spikes.
Right. So that is, as the Breakfast Dish podcast fades out, I gotta ask, the wall of spikes, was it there already, or did this T-Rex bring the wall of spikes?
So it's like sometimes he touches me and then I flash back. But the wall of spikes is actually at my childhood, like we had a lake community that we lived on, and it is always there. It's like by the on the like basketball courts, there's like a chain link basketball court. He sets up the wall of spikes there, and no matter where I am in the world, like sometimes I'm flying over buildings, he'll touch me, and I will fly back to the wall of spikes in my lake communities that I don't live at anymore. That's where I will be transported there and then impaled by the wall of spikes.
Well, that solves the problem. You got to get rid of that infrastructure.
Or
it could be gone.
The spikes are the bee queen thing, and they're both in your dream at the same time, and you are shit out of luck.
Global warming is going to kill me for sure, is what I'm understanding here.
But just
there's
you.
100% chance that I will die from global warming. Just me. What a noble sacrifice that will be, though. I hope I'm more.
Yeah, it's cool if you die and then like it kind of gets solved for us. And actually, if you do that soon, that would be great.
It'll probably be my 35th birthday, to be honest. Like I've been noticing that like my wrist has been green, but it's like slowly getting darker.
No!
So
and actually, yeah, I am seeing a red light, so we're gonna actually have to end the episode right here.
Yeah.
This has been The Breakfast Dish.